Breakups are often the symptom of problems in a relationship. My workbook series, The Knowledge, is focused on helping you change your life in 4 key areas: retaining the information that I teach, personal growth, improving your relationships, and of course, re-attracting your ex. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about major dating mistakes. Well, dating is often confusing and it's challenging, and there's a lot of different reasons as to why that is. But today I'm going to explore some of the reasons that dating can be so difficult and some of the mistakes that you can avoid making by becoming aware of how to handle yourself. When we get into a relationship or when we start to date somebody, the idea is to double the joy in life, and if you become a partner, divide the grief. You're making life better, you're trying to make life more fun, more manageable, and you're also trying to minimize the stressful and the difficult times. But being a good partner isn't something that you're just born with this knowledge. And if you grow up in a home where your parents are divorced, or they're fighting, or they have an unhealthy relationship, you're not going to have a good sense of how to be a good partner. And oftentimes, we're going to find somebody that doesn't have a good sense at how to be a good partner for you. You have to learn this. This takes time, and this takes insight and education. And so today I think you're going to find some really helpful strategies here that are going to help you along your way. Whether you get back with an ex or you start dating new people, these behaviors apply to both. But let's say you're in a situation where you're single and you're looking to date new people. One of the big struggles that we have is not knowing what that other person's intentions are. A lot of times we assume that they have our best interest at hand, but there is absolutely no way to know that. And you've got to be careful when you meet somebody new, because you don't know what they want with you or for you or to create with you, and you don't know their motives, their intentions, or how they attach. And that's really, really important that most of the world still hasn't learned. This is all centered around attachment. Your ability to attach to others is going to directly correlate to how you attach to your romantic partners. You have to understand attachment is like this own separate thing. And if you can't attach well, then you're likely going to self-destruct. You may be pushing the other person away, lashing out, using them. And I'm going to get into some details on this because I think it's going to be really helpful. But I thought it might be helpful up front to think about for yourself, how difficult is dating for you? Just take a moment to think about that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult has dating been for you generally over your lifetime? If you think of a number and get an idea, you might find that number, let's say your number is high and dating has been difficult, let's say it's an 8 out of 10, that you find it to be a struggle, you can't find anybody that you like, you don't trust anybody, everybody always lets you down. You might start to explore and think about how your ability to date is correlated to your ability to attach or your attachment issues. So maybe if you have an anxious attachment style, you're always frustrated that people don't make you feel cared about. Or maybe if you're an avoidant, you feel like, well, I don't really trust anybody, I don't really like anybody, and so you get to the sex and you enjoy the sex, but it doesn't really lead to anything after that, and so your relationships are often shallow or short-lived. But you want to kind of take a look at how much pressure you put on your dating situations. If dating is fun and it's easy for you and you have no issues attaching and getting to know somebody, that might show that you have more of a secure attachment style. However, you might find yourself in situations where people are getting turned off by your behavior and they're constantly disappearing on you. Well, that might be because you're coming on so strong and appearing so needy that you can't live without them, that they just feel like, I gotta get away, I can't handle this. And I've dated people like this. I've told you about the girl who was a very beautiful girl and sweet and funny and had, seemed like a nice person, but she told me she loved me 4 times on the first date, okay? Or maybe it was the second date. It was either the first or the second date, I can't remember. But, she was a really great girl, but seeing those kind of attachment issues was a big red flag for me, and I just thought, you know what, that's going to be too much, and after a first or a second date telling me that, I'm not going to pursue this avenue, I just knew that there were going to be too many issues that were going to come out after that, okay? If she was attaching to me like that on a first date, there was going to be a lot of problems that came up. She would probably be anxious all the time, insecure all the time, lashing out at me, all of the things that tend to come with anxiety. It's helpful to think about how you act in your dating life. Like, how upset do you become if somebody cancels a date on you, or the person is late, or maybe they didn't take you where you wanted to go, or the date wasn't as exciting as you thought it would be? How upset do you get? Do you get very upset and you just get really disappointed and you're angry and you're hurt and you start blowing up their phone? That is a good indication that you've got some attachment trauma and you've got to work through that, because if you don't, you're going to chase people away before they get a chance to know you. If you grew up in a home or lived in a situation where you just didn't get a lot of love or attention, when somebody comes along and gives it to you, you feel so good. And it's just like, finally, someone is here to meet my needs. And then you just kind of dump everything on them, and it can be too much. And the more trauma and hurt that you've had, the more likely you are going to be projecting fantasies on this new person, that they are going to save you, that they're going to give you all these things and promises, because now it's become about your unmet needs. So this is one of the major mistakes, that you're making dating about your unmet needs. Okay? This is about two people enjoying each other's time, having fun together, being intimate together, being close together, and also separating when you need to. If you have to go home, you have to deal with work, you have to deal with your responsibilities, and not expecting them to be there for you 24/7 like a caregiver should be or would be if you're a small child. Dating is supposed to be fun and exciting. You're laughing, you're playing. Play is a huge part of dating. I have done stand-up comedy for over 15 years. I love a girl that can play and has a great sense of humor. The Applebee's girl that I always talk about, one of the things that I loved most about her was her ability to banter with me. She would laugh, she could keep up, and she was funnier than most of the comics that I knew. And I love that about her. I truly valued that, because I could see that, most people that I will date just wouldn't have that kind of sense of humor again. And, so I really appreciated that. But my point is that she could play. We could laugh together. She could not only could she laugh with me, but she would make me laugh, which I really loved. Dating is also, exciting because our body is going through all kinds of chemical changes, right? We are overwhelmed by dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin and adrenaline and endorphins and all of these chemicals. In the beginning, it feels like a drug. We feel intoxicated, and this is a normal process. It's Mother's Nature's way of getting us to bond and to commit and to connect. And that's why sex can be so helpful, and a great sex life can be so helpful in a relationship, because it causes you really to bond and connect. And so it's really important in the early stages to have that connection. Now, I understand that some of you guys have religious or spiritual beliefs that you say you shouldn't have sex outside of marriage, and that's completely understandable, and that's up to you. But just understand that your body does have chemical reactions when you do start having sex with somebody and you start to build that connection. Now, one of the other things that's exciting about dating, and that people love the beginning, is that there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know what this person is thinking, if you're going to ever see him again, or how you're feeling. And that can be a real internal struggle to manage. That after 1 or 2 dates, having a good time with somebody, maybe you find them really attractive or just had a good time, you start to get really anxious and nervous, because now you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I like this person and I really want to see them again, and I don't even know if they like me. And what happens? We get uncertain and we start to get overwhelmed, blowing up their phone, chasing them, and oftentimes just self-destructing to the point that, they don't want to see us anymore. You got to take things slow. It's really important to take things slow. One mistake that I made years ago, I was dating this girl and we had an amazing connection. She was absolutely gorgeous. She was tall, she was stunning, she was a model, she was funny, and there was just this amazing chemistry that we had with each other. What happened, and here's a mistake that I made, was that we had gone out several times, we'd been talking, and things were looking really good. We had some of the best dates I've ever had. And her birthday came up. And so I was thinking to myself, what do I do here? I feel like things are going to really progress with this girl, and I feel like we're hitting it off. It's just going amazing, and everything's flowing great. But I don't want her to be disappointed if I don't do something nice for her birthday, even though she didn't ask. So I sent her roses to work. And, I wasn't sure if that was too much. I kind of was thinking too much, but then I was thinking, well, I don't want her to be disappointed if I didn't do something nice for her birthday. Well, it turns out it was too much. And she didn't say it, but we had a long talk about it, and I realized, this was a blunder. I came off too strong. I wish I had just held off on that, because, we had such a great chemistry and such a good time together. But, it was too much for her, because she had come out of a long-term relationship where the guy had basically ghosted her and was living a double life, and she could see that I was a great guy. And we're still on good terms, and I don't regret the way things played out. They happened the way they needed to, but I learned from that coming on too strong is a big mistake. Even if you think you're doing something kind can be overwhelming to another person. I'm going to say that again, because I know that many of you guys are just trying to do the right thing. But even being kind can be overwhelming for somebody when they don't know you yet. Because if your interest level all of a sudden jumps really high above theirs, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was in for this. I like this person, but now this is too much. Remember, you guys don't really know each other yet in the beginning of a relationship. They're still a stranger. Okay? Even though you've maybe gone on some dates with them and hung out for a few months, they're still a stranger. And getting attached to a stranger is very dangerous. You've heard the expression stranger danger, okay? You got to treat it like that. Take your time, because it's very easy for you to project your fantasies onto them. Also, it's very easy for them to project their fantasies, their unmet needs onto you. So what happens if you start dating for a while and they don't live up to your expectations? You're going to become angry, resentful. You might start keeping things to yourself, start bottling things up, and they could do that too. Because remember, they had all these projections and fantasies about who you were going to be. And if you disappoint them, they're going to be frustrated and angry and maybe hide things from you. You don't know what they're doing. They might be dating other people. You know, a lot of times I'll find that some of you guys are dating and you don't learn till later that there's been other people in the background. And so you got to make sure you're on the same page, especially if you're being intimate with somebody. You don't want to be sleeping with somebody and not protecting yourselves if you don't know, or if you haven't at least had the conversation where they're saying, yep, I want to be exclusive. Now, if they cheat, of course, it's a whole nother story. But you at least want to talk about it and make sure you guys are on the same page. And if they say, look, I still want to see other people, you say, hey, I totally understand. You know, I just want to, know where we're at. And if you decide you want to be exclusive, let me know. And, then maybe we can stop using protection if you feel comfortable and you're ready to be more committed. But, you don't want them to feel like they're trapped or they can't be honest with you, because if they feel like they can't be honest with you, and believe me, many people will be scared to be honest with you because they're afraid of rejection. And you got to be careful, because I have talked to several people that admitted that they had STDs. Now, this is them admitting it to me, that they had STDs and they slept with new partners without telling them. Okay? And one guy alluded to probably giving a girl a major STD. He said she didn't come out and say, you gave this to me, but she said, hey, I'm having all these symptoms, and implied it was him. So, do the math. Guys, be careful. These people that you are just starting to date, you don't know them well enough to put your health at risk. So be careful that you are attaching to strangers. And if you feel like you're constantly attaching to strangers, it's probably because you have attachment trauma, and maybe you're anxious where you're so desperate for love and affection. You might be using this person as an object to soothe your anxiety, right? Where you're just so excited that you're not going to be alone that you automatically assume that they're going to come and take all these responsibilities on, including your emotional needs and healing your attachment wounds and taking care of you like you never got before. It's not fair to put this on somebody when you're just starting to go out and just have fun and enjoy their company together. So getting attached to strangers is very dangerous for yourself and could put you in a situation where you're going to get hurt. I have one other major mistake that I wanted to cover today, and that is putting someone else's worth above yours. Men tend to do this with women that they find beautiful and very attractive, where you start to like this girl and she's really pretty and you love being around her, and the idea of dating her, you start to fantasize about dating her and how much better your life is going to be. That they're so valuable and they're so amazing. And many guys, especially if you are insecure and don't feel attractive, are going to feel like, well, if I'm with this pretty girl, then I'm attractive too. And that is false thinking. That is a false logic right there. It's only a story you're creating for yourself. Just because you're dating a beautiful woman does not mean you're more or less attractive. It's only happening in your mind. And you got to be aware of this faulty thinking. Looks is very subjective to different people. I might find one particular woman very beautiful, but not another. And you might look at that woman and say, she's hideous, but this woman over here is gorgeous. And we might disagree. That's normal, right? Except for if you're judging me, of course, obviously I'm gorgeous and beautiful. That's a no-brainer. I'm kidding, of course. But putting somebody else's worth above yours is unhealthy for you to do. You might start to think about how this person is going to improve your life and change your life, and you get consumed by where they're at and what they're doing and who they're spending their time with. And if you're not in a committed relationship, then you got to be careful on the questions that you ask and making them feel like they're interrogated. Because unless you guys sit down and say, hey, what are we looking for here? What do you want? What do I want? They have the right to go live their life as they want. And that's why I'm saying you have to be careful on who you're hooking up with. But you want to focus on what you are doing. How is your life going? And how you can add value to their life. How you can be a good partner, or even just somebody that you go on some dates with. Because there's nothing wrong with going out with somebody for 5 or 10 dates and saying, I think you're a great person, but I just don't think this is a good fit for me, or that you're a good fit for me. But I wish you the best. I want you to do great in life, and I hope this doesn't hurt you. Obviously, it can be hard to hear, and it could be hard to say something like that to somebody. But you have a right to be with somebody that makes you happy and that you're excited by, and that you want to commit to as a partner. Just don't do it out of obligation, because you're not going to be happy if you do that. So focus on bettering your own life and who you are and who you want to be, and that way you're not so likely to put their worth above yours. You never want to put anybody else's worth above your own. And guys, I know that you tend to do this with women that are attractive, okay? Especially if you are inexperienced with women and you haven't dated a lot of girls. If one comes along that's really pretty, you're like, ooh, this is the girl. I have to be with this girl. Well, if you come from a more abundant place and realize that there are millions upon millions of beautiful women out there, and that if it doesn't work out with this one, it'll work out with some of the others, then you're going to be setting yourself up for failure. You can't have the mindset that this is the only person I can be with in my life. There are literally billions upon billions of people in this world, and many of them would make a really good partner, and many of them you would be very compatible with. And if you find that you're saying to yourself, only this one person is for me, you're going to put yourself in a dangerous position where you're saying the only happiness that you can have in your love life is with one person. And that's simply not the case. Ladies, I know one of the things that you tend to do is listening to a guy's words and not paying attention to his actions. I know that there are many guys out there that are going to tell you everything that you want to hear. You're the most beautiful girl I've ever met. I love you. I want to be with you. I want to have kids. But he stays out till 2 o'clock in the morning all the time with friends. He's not honest or forthcoming. He doesn't want a commitment. He seems to be hiding things. He hides his phone around you, and he's doing some shady behavior. You want to make sure that his actions line up with his words, okay? Because if it's just his words, then it's about you projecting your fantasy on how amazing he is, but not how amazing you are. You want to have the attitude that you are awesome and that you are going to have a great life, and stay focused on creating that and being the most important person in your life, and that anybody that comes along is going to complement it, okay? Allow this new person to complement your life, not be your life. You want to complement each other. And, you got to be aware of all of these things that many, many people are going to do. And you'll find that as soon as you start to become more aware of it, that you'll see their pattern of behavior, and the behavior will turn you off. But you got to understand dating and romance, and how you show up and how your behavior is going to either turn people on and make them want to be around you, or turn people off and then you find yourself getting ignored or blocked or a restraining order. So if you want to get my help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net. Sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching, I do Skype, Margaret is also available for Skype coaching. She's outstanding, over 35 years of experience. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.